Did you know there's one thing that can give you a huge advantage as a buyer in this competitive market? Hi, I'm Eli Beyder. Welcome to another episode of Analyze That, where we talk about everything Bay Area living. I get so many questions about appraisals and appraisal shortages. So let's discuss what an appraisal is, what effect an appraisal contingency has on an offer, and how you can prepare your offer to stand out. So let's start with what it is. An appraisal occurs typically after a seller chooses an offer. The bank then comes out to the property to assess its value in the next few coming weeks. An appraisal takes place when the home's winning offer is not a cash offer. A loan is usually included in this winning bid, and that's when an appraisal comes into play. The lender will have to appraise the property based on fair market value. So let's take an easy example. If the property is worth $800,000 and you have a 20% down payment, let's say that the property appraises at value. Well, check mark, we're good to go. If it appraises above, then congratulations to the buyer. You got a great deal on the house and paid below market value. But let's say the property appraised below $800,000, like $790, then the bank will only lend you 80% on $790. You see, at value, the bank will lend you $640,000 with your 20% down payment. But if it appraises at $790, the loan you will be issued will be a maximum of $632,000 at 20% down. Your options as a borrower are to come up with the difference in cash or eat the value on the loan. So let's take an example with easy math. $1 million purchase price, 20% down payment is $200,000. If we appraise at value, we're good to go and moving forward. But let's say we appraise short at $980,000, a $20,000 shortage. Well, see, initially, you're asking the bank for a loan of 80%, $800,000. But now with the short appraisal, they're only going to lend you $784,000. So what are your options? Your first option is to pay the difference in cash. The $16,000 difference will be added to your cash to close on top of your down payment, making your cash to close $216,000 in this case. So the appraisal shortage minus the percentage of your down payment equals your responsibility. So what's your second option? Eat the value on the loan. Let's say you don't have an extra $16,000, then lower your down payment. Let's run the numbers now at 18.4% down payment. You see, your total cash to close is still going to be $200,000, but that will now include the $16,000 of appraisal shortage. So because your down payment went from 20% to 18.4%, you don't have to come up with any extra cash. If you want to know the pros and cons, consider how much down payment you have and the current loan limits. This way, you know the impact of taking the value from your loan. In the lending world right now, you're going to run into PMI, or private mortgage insurance, anytime you have less than 10% down on the home. What is it? Well, at less than 10% down, you're considered a high-risk borrower. It is the bank's way to offset the risk and squeeze more money out of you until you're back at over 10% down. If I'm getting an additional $200 PMI fee or more per month, I would strongly consider adding the additional cash to pay for any appraisal shortage. Now, if you're going from 15% down to 10% down, you're likely not incurring any extra fees, and it would be a better option to eat the value on the loan and save your cash. If you're experiencing low reserves, high debt to income ratio, fund shortages, fatigue from your home search may be common. Irritation towards your agent may also occur. Before proceeding with your loan, please consult with your lender's qualifications, and lending programs and requirements may change at any time. Please consider your reserves, debt to income ratio, and your monthly payment. So, what effect does an appraisal contingency have on an offer? Well, let's get into that and what an appraisal contingency is and when is an appropriate time to use it. An appraisal contingency allows the buyer the right to walk away from their accepted purchase contract without any consequences. The appraisal contingency allows the buyer the right to walk away from their accepted purchase contract without consequences. So if you put in an offer on a home and the appraisal came in short, you have the right to walk away from that purchase and get your money back. Now, in most circumstances, both parties don't want to cancel the entire sale just because an appraisal is short. So the buyers can ask the seller to pay for part or all of the appraisal shortage. This provides the buyer some leverage when going back to the table for negotiating. But as you may know, the Bay Area is very competitive, and when making offers, you may need to waive some or all of the contingency. So why would a seller want to accept an offer with an appraisal contingency, especially when there are so many other offers on the table? It adds another degree of risk that the sale won't close. For this reason, sellers consider fully non-contingent offers to be much stronger. It's important to understand the psychology as a buyer when working with your agent on making offers. So I wanted to put this all into context. I was working with a client and we finally found their perfect home after a long search. Based on the recent comparable sales, their fair market value for this home is between $930,000 to $950,000. However, After competing with multiple offers, the lowest price we could secure this property for was $970,000. But because they loved the home so much, they were prepared to pay up to $40,000 in a potential appraisal shortage. This flexibility ultimately landed them their dream home. I couldn't wait to call them to celebrate when the appraisal came in at $960,000, only $10,000 short. So now you know why understanding appraisal shortages is so crucial. If you have additional questions about the buying or selling process, feel free to reach out to me. In addition, check out some of my other videos on my website and my channel. And as always, subscribe down below. My name is Eli Beyder. Thanks for watching. Analyze That.